to your Sunday support session from Made of Midlothian. I'm Renee Bell, and tonight we're going to be talking about showcasing your work online, and then you'll have time to type any questions in the comments, and I'll answer them at the end. If you're watching live, it'd be lovely for you to say hi. I can see your comments just on my computer down here, and it's always nice to know I'm not alone here. If you're watching later on catch up, it's still great if you can comment and tell me if it's useful, that sort of thing. It's always good to know. Um, so, I'm Renee Bell. It, I have to confess, it was my birthday yesterday. So today's session is a little bit more informal. Hi, Chandra, darling. Because Chandra might also be part of the culprit here, but it was a bit of a cocktail night for my birthday last night. So I may be a little bit on the ropey side. So formal dress is optional tonight. Hi, Susie. Nice to see you. Um, a little bit about me. I'm Tasmanian. I emigrated here nearly 15 years ago now, and I've lived in Midlothian since. I've got a busy family of six. So I've got blended four kids. Oh, Susie says happy birthday. Thank you, Susie. um, and I am director at Made of Midlothian, kind of founder and director. Um, not sure what happened, but it's good. Um, and I'm also a potter and my own Yellow Door studio. So we're in my garden up in Edge Head. Oh, hi Bernadette, lovely to see you. Um, and yeah, this is my garden. I thought I'd swing round because Yellow Door Studio is just behind us. Um, there's a whole pile of children's stuff, and then over in that conservatory just there is Yellow Door Studio. It used to be a kids' playroom, and I stuck a wheel in the corner and a kiln in the shed that you can't quite see behind the cherry tree there, and slowly kicked the children out because that's our lounge room just there. So it comes straight off the center, straight off the house, which is dangerous because it means it's always there and I'm always working. um, so yeah, that's my business, Yellow Door Studio. I mostly make hand thrown bespoke functional pottery. So yeah, and a little bit about Made of Midlothian. So you're here with Made of Midlothian, um, and we started as a small volunteer group, and it's grown, and we're now a community interest company, and we have obviously had to change a lot of things recently, but we're trying to adapt, and I think we're doing all right so far. Pardon me. um, Still a little bit rough. Um, no, don't comment too loudly. Um, so sorry. Made in Midlothian, yes. We are delivering our programs online currently. So we've got online music, stories, and market, and it's all about supporting creative artists in Midlothian. So what's on this week? Andrew's saying he offered me a cocktail and I didn't want one. No, I thought a tea was a good idea. I definitely need a break from the cocktails after last night. So, what's on this week at Made of Midlothian? We have the weekly art exhibition. So, we've just had Grief released. So, there's a video you can catch up on, and I believe it's just been announced this week's theme is healing. So get your submissions in. You just message the page with the title, description, and a picture of your work, and we'll put it into next week's video. You've got till Thursday evening, so it'd be lovely to see you getting inspired and creative. Still don't know what I'm going to do yet. We've also got the Midlothian Makers Market. So we're doing a late night shopping this week, so Thursday night, and I thought we'd also do a Father's Day post as well and try and have one place where everybody can find their Father's Day gifts made here. Um, we've also got a kids virtual choir that you can check the video out of. That's really sweet with high hopes. And there's another one coming on the horizon, I hear. We have, we don't know whether it's our last, but possibly for a little while, Sound Lounge going on live this week. You can catch up on their video last night of Fake Plastic Trees. Is really lovely. Oh, Erin's such a beautiful singer, and Matt's so talented too. And they're getting all fancy with their video now. It's fantastic. But you can catch them live next week on Saturday night. And Tuesday night, you'll get the final chapter of Doggy and Teddy from Samantha. And if you haven't seen the rest, you can catch up if you go to the videos on our page. And we've also got My Music Monday from Chandra. She'll be showcasing a local talent that she's scouted out and introducing their work to you. And then we've got these weekly support sessions as well. So I'm doing these every week just to try and help out a few creatives. I do a little bit of research, and it's also my own experience. And I spend a lot of time talking to other artists as well. So I try and get a fairly diverse opinion of what the climate's like so I can kind of inform you. So you can ask any questions. Feel free to keep typing. Susan says, happy birthday. Thank you, Susan. It was lovely. Beautiful weather, and got to spend time in the garden and see my sister and my nephews. So it was actually really nice. We had a lovely afternoon tea that the kids made me. Yeah. Elsie May says, happy birthday too. Thank you. I was still in the top 10 birthdays, I reckon. But yes, if you think of any questions, just pop them on now and I'll get back to them. So I'm going to go through a few of my tips and things I think a lot of us crafters need to think about, because I think certainly a lot of people that I know, because I've done Made in Midlothian and craft fairs, people that I've talked to is, and how I feel about it is that you spend a lot of time, sorry, Andrew's pointing out that I gave him no credit. I do give him no credit. He did do so much stuff. When I say the kids made afternoon tea, really. But anyway, back to it, distracting me there. So one of the first things I think when it comes to online that you need to really change your thinking about, and that I sort of notice a lot in other people's posts and that sort of thing, is that every post you put out there and every listing you put on a e-commerce site or anything like that, you should really be thinking about it in the same way as you would thinking about setting up your craft stall. And it's replaced with people can't ask you a question directly, so you want to be there first answering their questions. If you think about it, they can't pick things up, so you want to show every angle in your photos. And if you can create that sort of thinking in your posts of having different price points, and being really clear and obvious, like your signage when you have a craft fair is really clear. So thinking about your posts a bit like how you would do your craft fair table, I think really helps. And that's sort of, it's partly about, just checking comments, partly about, so answering their questions. What you would do at a craft stall is you'd be there talking to your customer and talking them through and pointing to them out to them what they might want to buy and what might be in their price range, or what things are and what they're for. So instead, you've got to think about putting all that across in a post, and you really need to answer every question the customer might ask. So, starting out really basic of what is it and how much is it and how do they order it and how do they pay for it and why should they want it, and what will they do with it, is a really common one that I find, and what size it is as well. And you need to answer all these things in the listing, and every time somebody messages you and asks you a new question, then go back and edit the post or edit the listing or edit your future posts and include the answer to that in the post, because every time a customer has to ask a question like that, you're putting up a barrier for them and you'll lose them. Every time they have to take an extra step and think about things for themselves, and that sounds terrible, but it's true. Thinking about things for themselves, having to ask a question, they want things now, they don't want to have to wait for a reply. And if you can do that in your posts, you'll, I think, keep a lot more customers with you to the sale point. And so one of the things I think we really need to change when we're doing is we think about all our display. We think about, exactly how everything will be set out on a craft table, and you've got to then translate that to your photos. Um, so your photos will sorry, I read a question. I shouldn't have read it. I won't look at the comments anymore for a little bit. um, so there's some really easy tricks to good photography, and one of my favorite ones is live focus, and it makes it really easy. If you put something quite forward and have a large amount of space behind it, you can use live focus to blur out the background, and pretty much all smartphones have it. It doesn't have to be even that. I find you can put it on the grass and photograph it, and it still looks good with that. Outdoor photography is really good. It depends on your product, so you do need to think about if you're doing really streamlined sort of. I'm trying to think the right way to say it. If I was doing artwork and sculpture, I'd always want it to be outside and in nature, or on a wall or in its setting. But for some things, another solution is a light box. So you can buy a light box for under £20 on Amazon. They're not a lot. They do the job really quickly and easily, and they produce a really standard photograph that highlights your product, because of course it's a black background, or a white background, and all you see is your product under lights. But that said, outdoor is really nice, and it's different as well. And for something like pottery that I photograph, I find outside, and just bits of the garden, and finding a rock that sits out in front of a nice bush, that sort of thing, really does the trick. And of course, lighting is a really big thing in photography. And if you're outside on a nice day, you have to watch a little bit with glare, but on a nice day, you can get a decent amount of light. Another thing you can do instead of light boxes is just using a really plain background. Sometimes these birds are very noisy. Maybe it's my hangover. Birds are very noisy. um, so, yeah, a really basic background. So if you've got a sideboard or something similar next to a wall, you can get a reasonable photograph from that, especially if it's well lit. Just going to have a quick look at. Oh, yes, that's the other thing, is in your photographs. You can be really clever with some of your photographs. So listing things on Etsy, for example, I list lots of different things, and they're all different sizes, and I have to measure each one, and then add that into my listing and manually change it. So I found a little trick to that, which I quite like, which is using things for scale. And it's not just one way you can do it is putting a penny in, or a lighter, something that's really standard size that everybody knows what size it is. Standard size, yeah. Um, the brain cells. Um, so yeah, putting something in that's standard size as a frame of reference. But another thing you can do is you can just photograph it on a ruler, or a tape measure. And that way, if you have one photograph of your Etsy listings with it against a ruler, you can sometimes get away with not having to edit in the size. And another thing, people really like to see things in your hands, or being used, or teaching them how to use it. There's a lot of things that you think are obvious and they aren't. People look at them and go, huh? And it's obvious to you because you make it and you're used, it's an everyday item for you, but it's not for everybody. And sometimes people really need to be shown why they should buy it and what they will use it for. And you can do that in a photo as well as in your description. And another thing is doing every angle. As I say, people can't pick up something. And it doesn't take too much if you use live focus, and I will often take a mug and I'll shoot it upside down, to the side, in the middle, and I just shoot it against a blank wall. and it's not too much work, but you do have to take that into account. I mean, I think craft fairs are a lot of work. I struggle with craft fairs. I think I didn't choose a light hobby. I see the felters, and I'm always so jealous as they just easily lift these great big boxes of felting, and I have massive box of pottery I'm lugging about. But maybe it's just me. I do find them a lot of work, and so you've got to remember that it's an alternative way of doing things, and currently it's the only alternative way of doing things. So um, yeah, you've got to sort of invest in it, and that's um, another thing to think about is how you're going to do it online. If you have products and sort of streamlined, it's much easier to sort of copy and paste the initial description, and you can save yourself a lot of work that way. Um, it's pretty much always when doing crafting, it's not what we want to do. We want to make lots of random things, but actually making lots of the same and making them in some way standardized is really quite useful, especially when it comes to photographing and listing and everything like that. Um, and the last thing about photography is edit them. It's really easy to edit your photos. My photos aren't amazing. They're all right. I know I could do them better if I put more time into it, but I don't have the time right now. I'm really quite busy. Everybody keeps talking about this time we've got. I don't know, I'm not getting any of it. But yes, editing your photos. So on a smartphone, it's really simple just to go into the edit. I usually use an auto filter, which at first I didn't do for a very long time because I felt like I was cheating in some way. But I have since realized that actually it's a more accurate picture of my work when it's got the auto filter on. Um, and it isn't cheating, and it does look like that in real life, because real life is better than a photo. So don't feel afraid to use some of those. And you'll find some of them are better for different colors and things like that. And cropping them as well. You want your backgrounds clear of stuff, and if not, very, very fuzzy with live focus. So anything in the background is distracting. So if you can, cut it down. Um, so that's you got yourself set up to go online, and now you need to actually get yourself out there and put it somewhere. So obviously the normal streams, we've got Etsy and New Monday, and there's a few others around, and there might be something coming a little bit soon, which is very exciting. So I'm currently doing the test of making my shop on the Made in Midlothian website, which Blue Rose Digital, Alan from Blue Rose Digital, is helping us build. He's a fantastic company. If you need a website made, which is a very good time to have a website, I can tell you. Um, he's a great person to talk to. It's not as much as you think, and he'll do a really good job for you because he's lovely. I think that's my plug for that. But he is. He's really lovely, and it is, I think, an investment that's worthwhile, especially if it's something you're committed to. Um, in fact, I'm most definitely going to get him to do mine because mine's really out of date. I've got to get better at my website. But because I don't do that, my main suggestions would be join all the groups, and join the specialist groups. If you can specialize in anything, it's so much easier to reach your target market because they're already identified for you. And we'll talk about that a little bit more late next week, actually. Um, but yeah, joining all the Facebook groups and posting in them. Obviously, we've got the Made in Midlothian Makers Market, and that's our online marketplace. You can post, I think it's twice a day, we've said, twice a day, every day if you want to. The only thing we ask is mix it up. It's got to stay interesting because it actually just doesn't work if you keep posting the same thing all the time. Um, so, yeah, joining all the groups, there's so many out there, and there's a lot of e-commerce sites as well. But you will find that most e-commerce sites, so we're planning to run Made in Midlothian a little bit differently because it frustrates me the way most other marketplaces work, um, in that they don't drive traffic to your store particularly. You are the one who has to tell them it's there. You don't get that many sales from essentially people browsing in Etsy. Etsy is huge and it's worldwide, and it's pretty easy to get lost in it. Um, so you really do need to join the groups and do the social media to point people in that direction. Obviously, there's Instagram, which I don't do at all, and I know I should because I make pottery, and I really should do Instagram. And like a lot of things, I am not a great example of a lot of these. I know what I should do, and if I spent as much time as I did on Made in Midlothian on my studio, I think I would have them all done. But I kind of, it's my excuse not to do the things I don't want to do. So I do understand. Don't worry. Um, so yes, another thing is brand recognition. So when you're posting in all those groups, it is, a really well-known marketing tactic for people to know your brand, but it does actually work. And there's some really clever ways you can do that. So there's Canva, which is a free app, and I'm sure there's plenty of other ones, and it's can do image editing and put lots of images together, and you can put writing on your images and all that, and put your logo on them, which is great as well for obviously once an image is out on the internet, other people can take it really easily. So if you keep your logo on your images, even when it's taken and put into other stuff, you'll still get some credit for it. And when people keep seeing your logo and your particular style, if you make sure you use the same colors, the same fonts, it doesn't sound like it will make a difference, but it really does. It is the way marketing works, really well known tact, that one. And really clear messaging as well. Who are you talking to? You should know who you want to be talking to. Again, we'll talk about messaging a bit more next week. Um, and you want to have, ideally in business, they always say 3 streams of income. So don't put all your eggs into one basket, spread it around. I know we're used to having different craft fairs to rely on, or a couple of craft fairs that you do regularly in a couple of shops and that sort of thing. So now you've got to translate that back to being online. So that is, having an Etsy shop and having a New Monday shop, or Made in Midlothian shop, a Facebook shop. There's lots of different ways you can do it, but yeah, it's always best to make sure you've got a few different options there. So that's me done. I've ranted on. I didn't pass out, which is good. I'm going to have a sip of my tea. Oh, I needed a sip of that tea. And then I will check your questions. So, oh, we're fine. Oh, come on, guys, give me some questions. Challenge me. I'm at my worst. I'm in a dressing gown. um, so, Susie's asking, what happens with your late night Thursday online makers market? Do we just put our posts on when the market is live, or beforehand? So, I am working on this currently. We have a lovely guy called Kevin Patterson who's been helping us, and he's working on the events for that. I am absolutely struggling. There's suddenly 4 children to homeschool and lots of orders to do, so no childcare. So yes, we're slightly working on it still. I'm not sure. If you have a preference, please tell me if you have an idea. We thought we didn't want it to be just in an event, because otherwise you won't be able to see it later when you're browsing through the page. So the idea is eventually we want the marketplace to be almost like a regular online craft fair. And we're thinking about doing a summer craft fair, which will be an event and will be more of a particular an event. We're still working on the kinks, you might be able to tell. But yes, so I think we're probably going to do it in a post that you comment on. And we thought we'd do the same for Father's Day posts, so some people can look at the post and see all the gift options below. Um, and keep in mind with the Midlothian Makers Market, as I say, you can keep posting, but please share the group and invite people. It is I mean, it's all of ours, and everything in Made in Midlothian we do for us creatives. And we work really hard to do it. And it would be just great if it can become something that is, I mean, I think it already is an asset to us as a community, and we'd just love to see it grow. So things like the Midlothian Makers Market, I really think it could make a massive difference in our local economy at this time when we really need it. Um, I know that the people that are out there making sales are doing really well. And people are buying, and I think a lot of people just don't have the resources or the knowledge or the inclination or the belief that it's things are going to sell. Um, so yeah, if you can invite people, please share the group. um, it really is, Made in Midlothian is all about us, and it's kind of all of ours. And it was the reason, one of the reasons I wanted it to be a thing. So yeah, I should stop rambling on about that. I think I should say something like, what's on my thing. So nobody else has any questions. Could have asked me anything. You lost your chance. If you do think of anything later, remember you can always message the page. You can email us at madeofmidlothian.com, at gmail.com. And you can check out our website at madeofmidlothian.com as well. Or I'm always happy for you to get in touch with me personally. I spend a lot of time chatting to various people. I'm always on my phone, so I don't mind. If you've got any questions, especially if you've got something you don't want put on the page, if you're nervous about that. I should say, sorry, Erin's just come in. She's late, but she's made it, and is laughing at me. Hiya, Erin. Thanks for coming. Um, Erin's always trying to get the kids to bed in time for Sound Lounge and all sorts. So yes, if you have any suggestions as well, if there's something that you think that we should be doing or you want to see happening, anything like that, please do tell us. Um, and yet, like, share anything we're doing that you like. It's a really good way of knowing what people want to see. So please like and share and comment, and give us feedback, all that jazz. Thanks so much. Erin saying the kids are still up. I'm sorry, Erin. I do sympathise. I do. Mine are probably still up, but we're ignoring them. They just go and play in their bedroom and fall asleep eventually. The standards are really low these days. Um, so, yeah. Um, Thanks so much for joining me, everyone. That's another Made in Midlothian Sunday support session done. I hope these are still being of some help. Please, as I say, if you've got any ideas, do say. And you can join me next week for Why Should I Buy From You? And that'll be talking about things like messaging and targeting your ideal customer. And yeah, and I'll be doing more research before then. All right. Thanks, everyone, so much. Good night. Bye.